And just leave it on.
Yes, I'll leave it on. Okay, all right, guys. I'd like to welcome you to the Monday, September 22nd, 2025 regular meeting of council. I am the Deputy Mayor Dan Remford. I'm stepping in for Andy Prokop, the mayor. I do have a message from him. Greetings from Medicine Hat. Currently, I am here under the invite from Blackfoot Elder Charlie Fox at the annual Kainai Chieftain introduction ceremony. Wishing you all a very productive and enjoyable Tabor Town Council meeting, taking care of the business and looking after our Tabor and residents as always. Andrew Prokop. I'd like to also acknowledge that Joanne Sorensen is going to be attending virtually. Now, I'd also like to acknowledge Councillor Beckring. This is your kind of maybe your last regular council meeting. Right, we've got a special one, so I'd like to thank you for your service for town council, and thanks for all your expertise and knowledge. And I hope you have a fun time forgetting about us or remembering us. Right? So, thanks. Okay, so I'd like to call this meeting to order. Monica, could you adopt the agenda?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I move that the agenda is adopted as amended to remove agenda item 7.1, recognition request, and reschedule the item for November 10th, 2025, regular council meeting.
All in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you.
In favor.
Oh, yes, I forgot about you, Joanne. Sorry. Yes, we'll listen for you. Public hearings, it looks like we don't have any. And then we'll go on to adoption of the minutes. Item 4.1, minutes of the regular meeting of council September 8th, 2025. Mr. Thibault.
Administration has no update to the minutes. Back over to council.
I guess Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I will make the motion we adopt the minutes as presented.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Right on.
In favor.
Oh, Joanne, forgot about you already again. Councillor Sorensen. So, bylaws, it looks like we have none, and let's move on to action items. Item 7.2, the 2025 communication audits. Mr. Thibault.
So I'll get Miss Megan Brandon to come up, and she has, I believe, an introduction for an online presentation.
Good afternoon, Council. You've waited for it, and now I'm happy that it is here. The 2025 communications audit is ready, but you're not going to hear it from my mouth. You're going to hear it from Catalyst Communications, who conducted the audit. So online we have Benjamin Prue from Catalyst Communications. He has presenter permissions, and he's going to take it from here. Benjamin, are you ready to go?
There we go. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me, and thank you, Megan, for that. I'm just going to share my screen here, making sure that I share the correct screen. This should do the trick. Sorry, my computer is not loving it for a second here. Okay, we'll try that again. Apologies. There we go. Okay, sorry. It's a meeting system that I haven't used in quite some time. It's telling me to log out and log back in now that I've approved the sharing with my screen. So just give me one moment, and I do apologize for the delay. Okay, and we're back. I'll just need permission to share once again, but I'll get started here as we're launching the presentation. We had the opportunity to work with the town in undertaking a communications audit, as you know, throughout the spring of 2025. You should have the screen sharing on your, there we go, which is sharing now. And so we undertook this process. This is a typical process for us to undertake. My name is Ben Prue. In case you don't know me, I'm the president of Catalyst Communications, and this is kind of what we do. We only work in areas of local government across public communications, public engagement, crisis communications. We conduct many audits. We take part in planning and execution pieces as necessary across the spectrum of areas of, as I mentioned, issues management, crisis management, communications, and engagement. So this is all work that is quite typical for us. We are seeing an uptick in the number of these communications audits that we're conducting each year. It's become pretty typical simply as a result of a combination of changing expectations, where residents are demanding more in terms of communications, engagement, transparency. Also, as a result of the rise and sustained level of crisis management required, which does obviously have a major communications component to it. And then simply as government pushes to communicate more and build that relationship with its public. So these communications audits are quite frequent these days. We conduct around a dozen a year, I would say, many of which are with organizations comparable in nature to yours. So we were happy to undertake this process. What we did for this one is sort of three stages, if you combine some different elements. So first we went to research and discovery, which is a massive review of everything that we can. So we're looking at all of your plans, including strategic plan, corporate plans, communications plans. We're looking at material outputs that have occurred over a 1 year span. We're looking at all of your policies, and then looking at those pieces against best practice, industry trends, emerging trends, and comparator analysis. So we did conduct a comparator scan of 5 municipalities off the top of my head, all of which are comparable to the town in one format or another, and to varying degrees. It can be hard to find apples to apples comparators at times, but we certainly do our best to make sure that we're aligned in as many ways as possible. Once we conducted that initial research, we moved into sort of two pieces of engagement. The first is internal, where we were able to conduct one-on-one interviews with a number of staff members from throughout the organization, specifically the communications team and the SLT members. And then we had surveys with staff and council as well as with the public, to kind of gauge where that public opinion lies right now on numerous areas and concepts within the communications front. So we looked at comms, engagement, we looked at crisis management, we looked at where people are getting their information, what they would like to see moving forward, and so on. And then from there, we kind of tied it all together in that analysis piece. So what we've developed as recommendations, and some of the key ones we'll go through today as part of this presentation, these are not just, hey, this is what we think. These are evidence-based, tied back to those engagement pieces, as well as comparison against best practice and like municipalities. We also developed a service level inventory for the communications department, which looks at all of the outputs being undertaken, the work on their table, and sort of how that time is accounted for, where the areas of focus are being placed, and all of the outputs expected of them. Now, there are a lot of strengths in how your communications have been undertaken to date. By and large, throughout the organization, there was a lot of applause given to the communications manager, which was nice to see. Respect for their leadership and for their dedication to the organization in reviewing the level of output that was being undertaken. It is fair to say that they are working beyond their capacity, but that they are doing so with a high level of skill and adaptability, being able to adjust on the fly, being able to shift to constant day-to-day demands and outputs, which are being managed by and large effectively. Now, we'll get to what that looks like in terms of capacity on the next slides, but it is nice to see that when things are being undertaken, for the most part, it is at a level that might not necessarily be expected for a one-person team or a one FTE of that nature. The communications department has developed a personable and trusted voice in the community, which we saw in terms of our own review against some of the studies that are out there against local government voice and personality, as well as in what we were seeing from members of the public who responded to the survey. And there is a history of strong outputs and outcomes associated with crisis communications as well, which is a unique field. Crisis communications is really its own beast, which not everybody always realizes. And so it's nice to see that there is a high level of competency in that area as well. Now, where the key challenges come from mainly stems from capacity restrictions. For all intents and purposes, you have a communications department of one right now. There are other roles that are shared to varying degrees with communications so that they can support, but dedicated to that communications function, it is a 1.0. For the level of outputs that are being required of them, for the level of work being done and the quality of work being undertaken, the capacity that you have right now is not sustainable. If there were to be a change in staff, what is being done right now cannot be expected with somebody else in that role necessarily. And the level of output being required right now isn't sustainable even with who's in that seat right now. It will reach a point where there is burnout or some compromises that have to be made in service levels. The biggest problem that we see in these sorts of situations is that there's a heavy focus on the day-to-day demands. And that's what we're seeing in Tabor as well, where there's that reactive approach to communications because it's constantly dealing with things as they pop up, as opposed to being able to take a step backwards and approach things in a more strategic manner. Again, that's not a reflection of capability, but it is a reflection of capacity in this case, where there's just not that extra capacity to be able to do those pieces and act more proactively from that communication standpoint. There is a lack of issues management structure in place. Issues management is fast becoming a staple of local government communications, where it is about more than just responding when there are challenges that arise, but about being able to anticipate those challenges, plan appropriately for them, have escalation measures in place, and protocols and practices in place to be able to address some of these issues as they come up, and beforehand to mitigate them, where there's smoke before the fire, to be able to tackle some of those issues. We have also seen, as is true largely across the industry, public expectations increasing steadily and continuing to rise moving forward. We are witnessing a limited number of public engagement opportunities in town where there are industry trends of increased public engagement occurring and more chances for community members to be able to voice their feedback or input on a number of issues, and then just an unstructured set of internal processes for things like communications requests or engagement process development, just where there's that lack of maturity right now. You have grown as an organization to the point where those structures are now more necessary than they were before, and there are already a lot of the baseline tools that can be implemented pretty rapidly to be able to increase that level of structure and have a more streamlined process internally, which also supports the capacity that is required. Just to kind of show you where you stand in terms of staffing levels right now, this is a comparator analysis against 4 Alberta municipalities, which are comparable in population, small urbans, and in terms of internal structure and some of the demands that they're facing, where you have a 1.0 FTE specific to communications only. We are seeing others ranging from 2 to 4 plus. There are others that are not included here where they have expanded beyond those 4, but for the sake of direct comparators, we're seeing 2.0 to 4.0. And so it kind of shows a misalignment with where you are right now in terms of that staffing component and where some of that capacity strain is coming from. As you see population growth moving forward, that'll become even more pressing. You can see it quickly happens that after you reach 10,000, the FTE tends to go up fairly rapidly in terms of the communication department staffing. So looking at some of the core recommendations coming out of this report, apologies, And again, this is not a list of all recommendations. We're not going to go through all of them one by one. There are about 45 in the report, which I do encourage you to parse through individually and to be able to ask questions of your communications manager, who I've walked through those with as well. But just to look at some of the core ones that we're looking at, the most important are those which we've tagged as immediate, which means these should be occurring in 6 months or fewer. The first is to develop a communications plan. That work is actually underway as we speak, and I believe it is close to being complete. And then the extra piece is to look at that capacity element. And so we are recommending that as part of Budget 2026, the communications department staffing be increased by a 1.0 FTE, still supported by those other roles which are partially contributing to communications right now, but which would be brought on as a communications specialist to support the communications manager. And in doing so, that allows the organization to expand the communications manager's position description to include more of a leadership role in reputation and issues management, as well as including them in SLT meetings to be able to provide that lens as you go, which is critical to ensuring proactivity and to mitigate some of those challenges that might occur before they arise. And we have also included as an immediate recommendation that Council cease any direction of town communications as it is an operational function, and we want to make sure that role clarity is maintained in that governance versus operations division. There are instances in which Council members did direct or have been directing communications, and we do make sure that we're aligning with good governance in restricting those sorts of pieces. Looking at some of the high priority recommendations, which ought to be considered as part of a 1-year plan. One of them is to develop a crisis communications plan. This is often separate from a communications plan so that it can be focused on appropriately, and it gives your team the tools it needs so that if somebody's not available who might be operating in an information officer capacity, others can step in and know what they're supposed to be doing within that role. It allows for others to play as part of the communications team in an emergency or disaster effectively, and it lays out templates, resources, those types of pieces that can be actioned quickly within an emergency or a disaster, recognizing the need for timeliness in those situations. Aligned with that is to streamline internal communications request processes, increases in the number of opportunities for public engagement. We also look at recurring engagement efforts as part of this, things like budget engagement, public satisfaction surveys, the two of those can be combined, but those pieces that allow you to build a benchmark and then to track over time what that public opinion and public sentiment pieces are on an ongoing basis, which can be very valuable once you hit that second, third, fourth, fifth year and beyond. And in doing so, fully integrating an appropriate public engagement structure or process as part of your policies associated with that. So IAP2, which is typically the gold standard. We've also provided information around the MEC, and there are a couple of others that you can look at in that sense as well, deferring to your communications department for expertise in that area and what works for them. And then updating communications policies for currency, outdated terminology, nothing of major concern, but it does need to be updated, and particularly as it's aligned with some changes that have occurred to provincial legislation. And then updating your media relations policy and your public participation policies to ensure appropriate processes, again, appropriate role division, governance and operations, and to make sure that everybody is able to function within their role appropriately, efficiently, and effectively in line with the needs associated with media relations and public participation. Introducing council highlights as a part of public communications, which is always a nice feature to be able to promote to the public and to keep them in the loop of what's going on. And then assuring appropriate communications training for council following the 2025 election. Now, there have been some changes in what's required for orientation in terms of public participation, but just going a little bit deeper than that to make sure that there is a higher level of awareness amongst council, following the election, just to wrap around all organizational communications engagement and crisis communications. This is a pretty typical recommendation these days, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. Moving towards those medium priority recommendations, which we'll be looking at a couple of years out, taking that increased issues management capacity, and now that you've got some footing under you, developing an appropriate plan as part of that, a crisis reputation issues management plan or a CRIMP, establishing appropriate agreements for bolstered crisis communications capacity. So right now you have, as noted, a crisis communications manager who has been able to operate effectively in times of emergency or disaster, but being able to bolster that both with municipal partners as well as with third parties who are qualified and experienced in being able to support municipalities through crisis communications. Again, it's not an issue of capability or expertise, it's a capacity piece. Even large organizations where there's teams of 12 communications members, it's pretty often these days for those agreements to be in place so that they can bring in additional help with some of the more extended emergencies that we're seeing these days. Wildfires that we've seen last over 100 days, for example, or even just for a month or more, you're going to need that extra capacity. Now, as capacity is developed, issues management is put in place, and some of these recommendations that we've made are implemented, we do recommend at that point turning on social media comments again for a 6-month trial period, allowing for reevaluation after that point. The increase in capacity allows you to better be able to manage those pieces, and it does allow for some relationship building with the community. It's not unusual to see organizations these days toying with commenting, whether it's turning it off, on, limited, having stricter ground rules for what can and can't be said in the comment section. That's something that people are adjusting to as we see continuously evolving public discourse. But it would be nice to be able to turn those back on eventually and to be able to operate, within a defined set of conduct expectations, and see where that goes. And so it is in there. And at the same time, sunsetting the use of WhatsApp as a communications tool. It's just not used enough that it is efficient use of resources at this time. And then on an ongoing basis moving forward, tracking communications output and data aligned with a review of the service level inventory on an annual basis, which will help with effective department budgeting and making sure that resourcing is appropriate to where the outputs are. And then executing a staff survey for effective internal communications planning moving forward, and reviewing staffing needs for the communications department ahead of budget 2028, by which time there will be enough work undertaken with the if it is implemented as a recommendation for an extra 1.0 FTE to be added to the communications department, that with that extra capacity plus consistently updated and reviewed service level inventory, it will make sense to look at staffing ahead of budget 2028 and gives enough time to do so. Review the need for some tools moving forward as well, such as a public engagement platform, which is a nice centralized location for all engagement processes. And as you look to bolster engagement, it does make sense to look at that as a potential need for the organization, as well as a local public notification system, which allows for effective one-way communication through emergencies beyond what is applicable through Alberta emergency alerts. And so those are becoming adopted more frequently these days as well. And then at that point, developing a multi-year engagement strategy. These are 3 to 5 year plans with objective goals, outputs and tactics, and to make sure that you're continuing to bolster public engagement and having a standardized approach, and making sure that you're meeting goals in doing so moving forward. And then finally, your low priority recommendations, which come with, I believe we had them as a 3-year term. And I'm sorry I didn't include the actual terms in this presentation, but some pieces that we identified that are not necessarily as pressing, but are something that we should be aware of moving forward. AI policy and training is pretty typical these days. A lot of organizations have begun developing AI guidebooks for staff, just to say, we know that these are tools that are being used to one extent or another by different parties. Definitely not all people to the same extent, but here's what we accept within the organization. Here's how to use them appropriately within your role if you're going to do so, and here's the constraints on doing so. And that just kind of proactively sets you up to avoid any issues in that regard. And then reviewing the use of social media platforms for continued relevance moving forward. Things like X, for example, have sort of fallen out of favor in local government use. If it's still working within your organization, great. And if not, it is something to evaluate moving forward. And then developing a fatigue management plan. This is a broader conversation associated with all crisis management or emergency management practices. Fatigue management plans are becoming more common in local government, but we do specifically look at them as a piece of crisis communications and that IO function as well, as it often will show you where to schedule things appropriately amongst different team members, as well as where triggers are in place to bring in either intermunicipal partners or third-party partners to bolster that crisis communications capacity, and to make sure that you're not burning out your staff in an emergency or disaster, as that can be detrimental to public information at that time. And that's kind of it. And so there's a lot to parse through. It's a large document that we provided. I believe it's about, I'm going off the top of my head here, I believe it's about 70 pages. But there's a lot to consider within there. So I do encourage you to look through that entire report if you haven't already. But I am happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I'd like to thank you, Mr. Prulix, and I'd like to open up the floor to the council. Any questions or comments? I know there's no motion required here. I
guess.
Oh, Joanne.
Yeah, is that
Councillor
all right?
Sorensen.
Go
ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So even before I moved to inquire about investigating our communications policy and plan, I noticed there's a gap in the lack of transparency and just even a notice of town events and news. And also the perception of residents' voices, concerns not being heard. So that's why I brought this forward. I think that it's a little bit shocking that some of our policies haven't been reviewed. And I was just wondering if administration could just maybe after maybe the presentation, or I don't know when I should ask it, but why aren't the policies being reviewed in the 3-year kind of anniversary date?
Thank you, Councillor Sorensen.
To your question, Councillor Sorensen, in the background of the RFD, we did make mention specifically that there's 3 policies that are going to come forward, which is what I just wanted to mention. They were due in April of this year, but knowing that we had the communications thing coming forward, we thought it best to wait for the communications audit and then we would bring the policies forward. So we have indicated that we will be bringing them no later than the November 24th council meeting for council's review of the updated policies.
Yeah, sorry, I think you mentioned that. Thank you for clarifying that. And another point I just wanted to know is, so if we only have one staff member, sometimes, you know, in other communities, they're having a crisis and, you know, our communications manager has been, you know, helping these communities. I just wonder if then it hinders our own ability to function as a community and if that could maybe be answered.
I guess to you, Mr. Tebow.
Megan, did you want to field that one for us?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, through to Councillor Sorensen.
Awesome.
When I assist other municipalities through our South Zone All Hazards Incident Management team, the very first question that I always ask is through our CAO and through our Director of Emergency Management to be, can you spare me? If the answer are ever to be no, I wouldn't go. Tabor is always the first priority and will always continue to be the first priority. Me going on those deployments does not come at the cost of the town.
Thank you. Megan.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. Oh, I didn't see Carly there. Sorry, Carly first. Oh.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Through to Ms. Brennan. I just was wondering if you had any thoughts on the audit. It's certainly a very comprehensive document. I read through most of it. It's a little light reading. But yeah, I just wondered if you had any takeaways from it.
Thank you. I would say that this is a culmination of 10 years. I'm thrilled with it. There's nothing in there that really surprised me. I've seeing enough of this for a decade. You see through other municipalities their challenges that echo ours, things that we've done that are successful, things that we've done that are not successful. And I'm not egotistical enough to say that the town of Taber does it perfectly. So it's nice to see those 45 recommendations which will be implemented per council, and whether council chooses the more budgetary pieces, we'll discover that in the future. But this gives me and administration enough structure to move forward into a more modern pace of communications. And further to Councillor Sorensen's question about the policies, those policies were waiting, and they were going to be reviewed, but we just decided that there's no point in doubling efforts if the communication, because it is in the communication audit, certain changes to various policies. We knew that was going to come. And so there's no point coming to council, bringing a policy, and then bringing it 6 months later to say, oh, oops, we changed a policy that the audit didn't recommend. So I would say that this document is going to be the most useful for both administration and council moving forward for the next 3 to 5 years, and in the current time as well.
Thank you. Councillor Bruin?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'd just like to say thanks, Ms. Brannon, for the work you've done. I think you've done a fantastic job with the communications, and you've won some awards and some really good job I think you've done so far. So keep up the good work. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. One comment I had was I guess we're going to turn the comments back on. I guess that'll spice it up for you, and right, that'll be a lot of fun. Okay.
I can, if I may, address that one specifically. That was a tough decision for me to make operationally, and I would just like to comment that I recognize that made it difficult on council when that happened.
Yep.
And thank you for your support on that. I think with this communications audit, we're going to move into a future where those comments will be in a much better way of connecting with our community. So I look forward to that as well.
Cool. Okay, thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Benjamin, for your exhaustive and comprehensive report. I found it quite interesting that the focus was on cease council to be involved in it, you know, and I know in the past that has perhaps occurred, and I would strongly suggest to members of council that we should not do that any longer. And also that this report is even though Megan just said is for administration and council, it is 95% in my view administration, and maybe 5% setting policy. You know, so I think that report, that itself makes the report to me worthwhile. The rest is a whole bunch of words, that's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to item 7.
Thanks, Ben.
Oh, Mr. Tebow, I just seen your light up, sorry.
I just noticed, Deputy Mayor Renford, that we had said no resolution is required, but could we maybe ask council to receive for information?
Okay, for sure. Would somebody like to make that motion? Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll move that we receive the information as presented.
All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. Councillor Sorensen. All right, so we'll move on to item 7.3, response to standing item 290-2025, Confederation Park Path. Mr. Tebow.
So this is in response to the standing item 290 that was given to administration, and we were asked to provide it back by September the 23rd, so I guess we're a day early. And I'll just ask Mr. Egan to come forward and speak to council.
Mr. Deputy Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
As mentioned, this is response was directed at, the priority to undertake the responses provided to Public Works and Facilities Management specifically. I guess the main points that I wanted to bring forward, excuse me, is that we've confirmed that the proposed length of the new pathway is 60 meters. There is an existing hard surface pathway that gets from the initial point to the end point. It's 120 meters, so this pathway would shorten that by 60 meters. There are no paths in this particular location that show up in any of our strategic plans or planning documents. That doesn't mean we can't do it. We like to build things in Public Works, and so we received 2 different prices from contractors we have currently working in town on asphalt and concrete work, and so they're quite quickly able to look at the particular location and provide 2 estimates. They were about 50% apart, but form the basis of the number that we have in front of you now, which is it's an approximate opinion of probable cost of $45,000 to construct the pathway. There was an image that we created attached to the RFD that shows the existing pathways and their lengths, the proposed routing, which takes the proposed path just to across the edge of the stage, as shown in the image.
Okay. Any comments or questions from council? Councillor Bruin.
Thank you again, Deputy Mayor. What is the age of our current pathways in the park? Like, are we due to upgrade them soon? Are they holding together well? What's there now, or?
So the pathways in the park fall under the council set of priorities that go along with all the hard surface sidewalks in town. So every year Public Works does an analysis of all those sidewalks and paths in town, does a condition assessment, and then reviews our prioritization for renewal. And so any of these paths that would become deteriorated to the point where they rise to the top of the priority list, we would undertake the replacement at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, they're asphalt and concrete, and so pretty long service structures.
Yes, they're mostly cement, right?
Sorry.
Mostly cement, I believe.
For the sidewalk type paths are primarily cement,
Mhm.
concrete, and then the interconnecting pathways through parks and other areas of town are actually largely asphalt.
Okay. With the drawing here, I don't really see the purpose of it. We're cutting the stage very near the stage, and when we do have events at the stage, that's where, as I was reading the stands sit. And what does this pathway serve? It gives a shortcut to the parking lot of the administration building. I don't really see the need for this pathway. If you're going to put one perhaps on the other side of the stage across, but to have it in front of the stage to me doesn't seem a fitting place.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Beckring.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay, perfect.
The council receives administration's response to standing item 290, 2025 for information.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Oh, discussion. We have a discussion. Yes, sorry. Let's discuss it. The only discussion, I guess, thank you, because I do see, like you brought up, Councillor Bruin, that are they cement or they asphalt, right? So the trail up to that picture, if Mr. Tebow could pull it up, it's asphalt, and it would be extending an asphalt. All the existing paths are cement. And I do see that all of our parks and pathways are now asphalt. That was probably one of the last parks that has cement in it. So, you know, I could see if we planned on doing maybe all of the park to asphalt. I know that there's budgetary costs there, but I do think that little one, you know, doesn't help. But I do see why some of the people from Clearview do like the asphalt path. It's wider, it's smoother, it doesn't have breaks, just manufactured in it. So I do see that, but yeah, just take it for information. So any other discussion?
Can I just
Oh, Joanne,
ask a
yep.
question?
Yep.
So you mentioned, Deputy Mayor Rumford, that perhaps the width of the path is a concern, or maybe, I just want to know if the current sidewalk is wide enough for seniors and, their walkers and so forth to walk down the paths.
Yeah, I guess it's to me, or I guess whoever wants to answer.
We'll get Mr. Egan to speak to that.
Okay, awesome.
Sure, the existing pathways allow people to pass each other in both directions, and so they're perfectly adequate for single user, single directional traffic.
Thank you.
With that, or?
I guess I could add, that's why I was asking about the current condition of the existing pathways. If they're going to be due to be replaced soon, that perhaps we look then at going asphalt all the sidewalks in there and make them wide enough for walkers and wheelchairs. That was kind of the reasoning before my question on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I guess all in favor of Councillor Beckring's motion? Carried.
Favor?
Councillor Sorensen? Yes? Unanimous.
In favor.
Unanimous. All right. Let's move on to item 7.4, Southeast Area Structure Plan Budget Request. Mr. Tebow.
So we'll get Miss Hillary Jensen to come forward. Council has seen this before, and I'll let Hillary walk through the history lesson for council.
Thanks, Hillary.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Council. So I'm coming forward today to ask for the dreaded budgetary request increase. The background on this one is that the town has been looking at doing the Southeast Area Structure Plan, which would be kind of south of the Walmart area, for quite a few years. And last year we did, administration did put out an RFP. And when the results of that RFP came back, there was they were over what the budget was at that time. And then there was a little bit of a delay in re-putting out the RFP till this last summer. And so when we put out this RFP once again, kind of the same time frame as last year, the submissions we got were once again a little higher than anticipated. But as I put in my report, there is some reasons for that, and that's due to kind of how we want to proceed with this area structure plan, making sure that it's a well thought out, comprehensive plan that leads us into the future, with the opportunity to look at annexing those lands from the MD. That's probably within the next year. So some of the things that we added to provide clarity to those consultants looking at this particular plan were like a high-level stormwater management plan, traffic impact assessment, which I'm sure council is aware in those intersections in that area, there's some concerns from, I think, on your behalf and then also on the MD's behalf. An environmental site assessment, just to make sure there's nothing in the area that's of a major concern. Geotechnical, which would take into consideration any abandoned wells, that kind of thing. And also the type of soils that are in the area. And one thing I failed to mention on here, but would be the market analysis. So commercial market analysis is something that you really need in order to say, hey, we need to grow. We're running out of space, commercial land base, which we are. And that analysis will help define that need, and that will lead into those future discussions with the MD on acquiring those lands and putting them within the town. So as such, the price of the submissions, or the average price of the submissions exceeded the original approved budget of $120,000 that was approved last year. So staff, in discussions with other staff, we are expecting that with disbursements and additional support studies, as I mentioned, that a revised budget of $135,000 would complete this initiative. So that's $15,000 more than what was approved last year. So with that, I have provided a recommendation to you to that effect.
Thank you, Hillary. Any comments or questions for Hillary?
I would just be prepared to make a motion.
Okay, 1 second, Miss. Oh, okay, if that was you. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Sorensen.
I'd like to make a motion that council directs administration to increase the current project budget by $15,000 from $120,000 to $135,000 to allow the contract to be awarded for the Southeast Area Structure Plan with funding to come from operating reserves.
Thank you. Any discussion? Oh, Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Rumford. I just had a comment. I'm speaking in favor of the motion. As much as I don't love seeing an increased budget on things, I do understand where administration's coming from on this, and I think it is imperative to do this right the first time. This is not something that we want to skimp on and not have all of the information, especially moving forward. So I'm in favor of that motion.
Councillor Bruin.
Thank you. Was there a timeline in this study? When would it be finished?
Thank you, Councillor Bruin, through Deputy Mayor. What we're looking at is that we will have a draft, like a final draft of the plan by June of 2026, and then coming through forward for approvals to the MD and town councils throughout the summer, or probably into like September of next year.
Okay, well, I'd also speak in support of this motion. It's something we definitely have to do something there to figure out what's the future. Thank you.
Yes, and Hillary, I sat in with you at the MD, the joint council meeting with the MD. You know, this is a very important thing, so a well thought out plan is important. So a little bit extra, like Councillor first said, it's not always the greatest, but a good plan's always the right one. So I guess we'll vote in favor of the motion. Or has anybody made the motion yet? Yeah, Joanne. Oh, Joe. Yeah.
Joanne made the motion.
Joanne made the motion. Okay. We opened it for discussion. All in favor? Joanne?
In favor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carried unanimously. All right. Starting to get this. All right, I'm starting to get it. Okay. All right, item 7 points. If you're not having fun, you shouldn't be doing it. Right? Item 7.5, downtown Wi-Fi additional funds. Mr. Tebow.
So another additional funds coming forward to council. We have Miss Anna Sweetnam, who's our IT manager. I don't know that she's presented in front of us before, so take it easy. And we've got Mr. Rob Osmond as support.
My first time too.
Go ahead.
All right.
All right, so this is about the downtown Wi-Fi. We're looking for additional funds to complete the project. We're looking to complete the expansion of the public Wi-Fi project into the downtown core along 47th and 48th Avenue. The original plan was to deploy the access points onto local businesses, but that became unfeasible due to line of sight issues. The plan was modified to include deploying these access points to lampposts, which increased the project budget, but reduced liability, complexity, and access issues. Most of the equipment for the project has already been obtained, and we're currently awaiting approval to move ahead with the installation by Fortis, which is causing the increase in budget of $6,500.
All right. Any comments and questions?
I just have a comment.
Okay, yeah. I guess Councillor Sorensen, we'll go to you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just would be in favor of this. I think that it's been a long time waiting from the local businesses to increase the Wi-Fi downtown, and so I'd be prepared to make the motion that council approves the additional funds for the downtown Wi-Fi project in the amount of $6,500, with funds to come from capital reserves.
Thank you, Councillor Sorensen. I guess we'll go to discussion. Councillor Bruin.
Has this been a request from the downtown businesses that we increase Wi-Fi?
I'm not aware of that. It was part of the original project, though.
Okay, I just wasn't aware that they were the one behind this for it. So there has to be more infrastructure added, like towers or?
Right. Basically, what we're going to do is take wireless access points and put them up on some of the lamp posts.
Okay, that's why Fortress is involved
Right.
with lamp posts.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm not really familiar with the Wi-Fi downtown. I don't use it because most people have it on their phone plans now, so it's something I could go for or not, so I'll go with council on this one.
Thank you. Okay, I guess so.
I think if
Go ahead,
I
Councillor
could
Sorensen.
just
Yep.
add to that, it's just that sometimes the cell phones don't necessarily work in the buildings, you know, with the concrete and so forth. So anytime we can help Wi-Fi, because obviously we're in the age of technology, just making things easier for for people is the better way to go.
Thank you. Okay, so in favor of the motion? Yeah, I'm asking, are you guys, calling a vote. Who's in favor of the motion?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. It's like you guys are setting me up now. All right. Item 7.6, Reserve Policy Framework. Mr. Tebow.
So it looks like Mr. Rob Osmond has taken up chair, so we'll have him present to council. This is something that was that has been on the strategic dashboard for quite a while. So we thought we'd at least have a conversation about it before this council moves on to the next. So over to you, Rob.
Thank you very much. So I've put together a reserve framework that's based on the policy draft that we've put together. So the policy draft is now at the stage where it will be circulating through the organization to make sure that it meets all of our needs. But the essential concept here is that once we bring this forward, we'll bring it forward as part of the 2026 budgeting process, because essentially the reserve policy framework comes forward and establishes how we will fund our reserves. And so a big part of that will be making the funding decisions in the budget process. So I was going to share with you the framework today, and then as we move through the budget process is how we'll implement that framework. And so the policy will be approved later this fall. In terms of the framework itself, I've provided a summary document of how it all works, but essentially there's two classifications of reserves. We have operating reserves for operating expenses, contingencies, and then we have capital reserves, which we hold for replacement of our tangible capital assets. Each one of the reserves that are proposed in the framework comes with a bit of information on what its purpose is, what its ceiling would be, and the proposal for how funding would find its way to that reserve. So typically, if we look at the operating side and talk about the contingency reserve, we would set a target for that reserve of something approximately 10% of annual municipal tax levy as a target for us to have in that reserve to meet those contingency obligations. And we would do that by securing a portion of year-end surpluses. So when we come to the end of the year and we're analyzing the final outflow, rather than allowing the total proceeds of the year to flow into accumulated surplus, we would section off a piece to share into the reserve, and that's how we would build that reserve. For something like the utilities, which would have a capital reserve, typically the capital reserves, we like to set the target at approximately 10% of the net book value of the assets of what you're trying to fund. So it gives you a base on which to draw. So we do have other forms of funding, contributions from other parties. We can have grant funding, but to establish that base at about 10% of your capital assets is a strong position. And for something like utilities, we would target raising that through the rates that the utilities raise in revenue. And so there'd be a capital budget line for a transfer into that reserve as part of the budget each year for those. So you can certainly go through and it outlines kind of what all the different pieces we'd be addressing in the reserve schedule. And you can see from that where the reserves framework will have its fingerprints throughout the budget as it raises those money that we use to fund those reserves. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, yeah, any comments or questions? Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I don't really have any questions. I just am very impressed with administration on doing this and having this kind of set out so that it can be implemented going forward. It's just nice to have that for our future budget. So thank you.
Councilor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Rob, for your report, and it makes a lot of sense to me. However, there's always a however, that reserves are largely dependent upon the financial health of the organization, of the community at the year end. So even though you might have a policy and a procedure attached thereto, it's still a very nebulous sort of document, isn't it? Because if you haven't got the money, you can't put in reserves. And if you got reserves, well, that's great. So it's good to look at, but we must keep in mind that it varies greatly from year to year. So, because we cannot, even though we can forecast our expenditures, we can forecast our revenues, they don't always come true. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councilor. Oh, Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to echo a lot of what's already been said, but it's just nice to have some framework and some guidelines for where it's always been. Reserves have all, like, we knew they existed, capital operating, but the targets for what we have in those reserves was always kind of in the dark. So I think it's good to have a plan moving forward for those. And as Councillor Beckering said, like, you can only have reserves if you have, the funds available. So, but I think regardless of whether the funds are available or not, it's good to have the plan, and then we can always adjust, as we go. If when you have down years, and then you make it work, right? But thanks for that.
Thank you. Is anybody able to make a motion for this? Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I move that Council accepts the report on the introduction of the Financial Reserve Framework for information.
Any more discussion? Oh, Councilor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Rob, on your report here, it says reserve structures. Utility reserve structure. Do you mean you want a separate account of reserves from the utilities, or is that going to be folded into the general unrestricted reserves?
An excellent question. So essentially, the reserves are a set of financial accounts, not bank accounts. So the actual cash will sit in general fund and investment accounts, but we will account for them in dedicated reserves. So we would have a set of utility reserves that we account for separately, so the monies don't blend together, that we know exactly what's in there and can account for where they go. But it's not held as separate funds.
Thank you. Councilor Sorensen, do you have any questions?
No, not really. Just I thank you for the presentation, and I think it makes sense for us to, as council, be knowledgeable of the reserves that's in, that's available. And so when we make our tough decisions of whether we move forward with the project or not, we know what the financial implications are. So thank you for sharing this.
Thank you. Councilor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Deputy Mayor, prepared to make a motion?
Oh, it was already made. We were discussing.
Oh, did we?
I got a handle on it, Councilor Beckering. Okay, so let's vote on the motion at hand. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. First mistake ever. All right, let's move on to item 7.7. Financial and Capital Report to July 31st, 2025. Mr. Tebow.
So again, we'll have Rob speak to council on this one. This one is something that used to happen with the audit committee. And now that the audit committee is all of this committee, then we're going to explain it here.
All right. Rob.
Thank you very much. So yes, as Darren said, this is part of the presentation that would have been included in a separate audit committee meeting in order to make sure that it fit comfortably within the existing council structure. I did break off two of the reports for us to have a look at tonight. And then at a future meeting, I'll bring some of the other reports that came. I just didn't want to dominate the agenda with financial reporting because, yeah. Thank you. So in the reports, I'm just going to, I had a couple of things that I was going to highlight for council out of the summary reports. So the first one that I was going to speak to, or the one that I wanted to speak to, is actually the statement of operation and changes. I believe this is page 4 of the financial summary report. So there are a couple of numbers in here that I just highlight. The first is in the revenue side, there's a net taxes available for municipal purposes. The number is currently trending about $2 million over budget. I wanted to assure council that we didn't manage to collect $2 million of additional taxes. But net taxes is actually one of the only places in our statement where we combine revenues and expenses into one line. So in this budget is all of the taxes we raised and all of the requisitions that we pay out. And the third and fourth quarter requisitions haven't been paid. So that's why this number is currently showing high. The next one I was going to highlight is that we do have sale of user fees. So this is just 2 lines down there. It is currently trending about $6.8 million under budget. And again, very similar at this point in the year. This is a statement as of the end of July. So we've had about 58% of the budget come in. So we can see as we head into the fall season, we'll see revenue continue to come in through the end of the year. So I'm not concerned about that number at this point. It's pretty much on target. I did want to also highlight investment income. So investment income, we had budgeted $150,000. It's currently showing at $403,000. This is a combination of 2 things. One is investment returns have still been relatively strong, and so which is great news. We do have some additional revenue in there, but as we come to the end of the year, there's some monies that we transfer out of there. So there's an obligation to apply some of our investment income to specific reserves and things like that, and so that comes off of that number. So I expect it to end higher than budget, but perhaps not quite as high proportionally as it's trending. And then the only other thing I wanted to highlight on this report was in the expenses. We can see in the salaries, wages, and benefits, as well as contracted goods and supplies, they're currently sitting around 58-59%. So again, based on where this report was cut off, this is exactly where we expect them to be. So as you go down that line, anything that's kind of in that 55 to 65 line is likely trending exactly where it's supposed to be. Some of the other numbers that are a little higher or a little lower probably have to do with how the expense is received. So, for example, our transfers to local boards and agencies, that number is much higher, but it's because we tend to try to get the money out to the groups earlier in the year. That's why it's higher. So all in all, in the report, what I see is it's performing well against budget. And although there are some interpretation pieces to keep in mind as we go through, I think it's on track. It's where we expect it to be.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions for Rob?
I just had one question.
Okay. Go ahead, Councilor.
If you could, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I was just wondering what professional services other is.
Professional services.
It's on page 9.
Oh, page 9.
It's just a bit more than year-to-date of 2024. And I don't need that answer today. If
Okay.
administration needs time, I'm okay waiting for that.
I will take that as a note and get that back for you because I'm not immediately able to identify what would be in there. But I'll get that back to you.
That's fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sorensen. If there's no more questions.
There is one more report included, and that's the capital variance report. So this report, which is page 16 of the financial report, 16, 17, it's a list of all the open capital projects that we're currently working on. It includes their budget and their actual expenses year to date. And so it gives council a look at kind of what projects are moving along. If council had any questions, I certainly do my best to answer them.
Thank you. Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I had a couple of questions about them. I just wanted some clarification. There is a annual vehicle replacement and a vehicle replacement. Do you know what the difference is? They're both for $75,000. Well, the budget, but their actual number was a little bit more. But I just was curious what the vehicle replacement was versus the annual vehicle replacement is. I'm pretty sure one is for the police, but I'm not sure what the other vehicle replacement is.
Both of those projects, the 42110 would suggest that they are both in the police function. I would have to look into that for you. I did have an answer about why those projects were over budget, but I didn't have the answer as to what those two projects were. So I can get that back for you.
Thank you. Councilor Firth.
I had some information about that. So the annual vehicle replacement is every year, the Taber Police Service replaces one of their vehicles. They rotate in. The other vehicle replacement was when Taber Police Service took over for the MD. The MD had an existing truck that they were using. That truck was set to be replaced. So that's why there's two vehicles this year rather than normally there would just be one. As to why they're over budget, I don't have an answer, but Rob might.
And I can share with you, these projects are the total expenses. On the revenue side, we had budgets of $75,000. The overage there is covered by or is offset by the trade-in on the old vehicle.
Okay. Councilor Beckman.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Just a question, I guess, generally to administration regarding the transfer station road rehab. It's a $1.04 million budgeted. What's the holdup? How come we're not proceeding with that? I haven't spent a dollar yet, I see.
Mr. Tebow.
I do have a bit of an answer for that, Councillor Beckering. So we apply for STIP funding every single year, and that road is dependent on us getting STIP funding. And for as long as I've been employed here, we've never actually got STIP funding for that road, along with the Trout Pond Avenue. So that's why there's not a dollar spent, because it's reliant on a grant.
It's too bad. Thank you.
Councillor McLean.
Thank you. I just have a couple more questions. I also noticed that the asphalt milling and overlay and the surface works are still yet to be really used. Do we do most of that in the fall? Is that why? Or do we do it earlier in the year and it just hasn't hit this report yet? I'm just curious about that.
I could get Mr. Egan to come forward and speak to that, but I think you're on the right track.
Councillor McLean, you're correct. And this year we're a little bit further delayed because of the Taber 120 and the Summer Games work. We pushed that kind of activity because it's pretty disruptive for traffic around town. So we're coming to the end of it now, and we anticipate another week or two. And by the time Rob's reports are by quarter, and so this would have been end of Q2 when we really hadn't achieved very much at that time, and certainly hadn't received any invoices.
Thank you. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The CP, the CPR 50th Street crossing upgrade, it was like quite under budget. And I was just wondering if it was completed as, well, it's like 20 grand under budget. I just thought that that would have been, I'm just asking if it was done the way it was supposed to and if we just saved 20 grand on it, I guess.
I know a few things, but so the original project was a total of $160,000, half from the town and half from CP. And that was the amount of project that was approved. And then there was a caveat in there that CP on our behalf and on their behalf would be applying for a grant. And if they got that grant from the federal government, we would receive a pro forma share of that. And so what you're seeing in the difference is that half of that $40,000 that they received from the feds.
Awesome. Right. If there's no
Deputy
other,
Mayor,
oh, Joanne. Yep. Go on.
sorry. If we're finished with this schedule, I just have a question in regards to page 13, the statement of departmental activities. Just in regards to the summer games, it says that it budgeted $115,000, but perhaps it was only $49,000 spent. I just wanted to maybe clarify that.
All right, so that's on page 13 there. Okay, I see. I would have to get some more information to be able to speak to that specifically. It could be the timing of the report. So this report was cut off as of July 31st. So it could be that by now we have received additional billing that would have wrapped up that project. But I'd have to look into the status for you.
Okay, thank you.
I guess Councillor Sorensen, it being in like July 5th was summer games, if anybody was net 30 and invoicing, you would have not got them invoices by July 31st, or you wouldn't have to have paid them, right? So I imagine it could be that, but thanks, Rob, for looking into it. If there's no other comments or questions, could somebody make the required motion? Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I move that council accepts the report on the financial update to July 31st, 2025 and capital variance report to August 31st, 2025 for information.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Carly? No. So we can vote on that motion. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. All right, on to 7.8. Assessment Review Board Clerk Appointment. Mr. Tebow.
And we'll have Mr. Rob Osmond take us through one more.
All right, thank you very much. So as part of the assessment process, there is an ability for people to file an assessment complaint. And to respond to those complaints, we set up an assessment review board that has members and a clerk. Previously, we had a system with our auditor and then the Old Man River Regional Services Commission. Both of those programs have now ended, and so we have received complaints for this year. And in order to walk us through that process, we need to appoint clerks. So I have been able to secure Bonnie Andres as the Assessment Review Board clerk. So we're seeking her to be appointed for a 3-month term. Additionally, we are looking for Brittany Gilbertson and Taylor Mount Stephan to be appointed as Assessment Review Board clerks for the town of Tabor.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions or comments in regards to that? Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through to administration, I'm just curious why it was initially something that we were contracting out, and now it appears that we're moving it in-house. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, so it was most recently it had been part of the services that we had as a member of ORSC. And so when we changed our membership status with them, it's a service that they don't provide to non-members. So that's why we're now self-delivering.
Thank you very much. If there's no other discussion, is anybody ready to make? Councillor Firth.
Thanks. Thank you for the answer to the question, and I'm prepared to make the first motion. I move that council appoints Bonnie Andres as the Assessment Review Board clerk for the town of Tabor for a 3-month period ending December 31st, 2025.
Discussion? Okay, if there's no discussion, we can vote. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I'll make a motion that council appoints Brittany Gilbertson. Who's that? Oh, okay. As the Assessment Review Board clerk for the town of Tabor.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? If not, who votes in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Deputy Dan. I'll make a motion that council appoints Taylor Mount Stephan as an Assessment Review Board clerk for the town of Tabor.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? I guess all in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. All right, let's move on to 7.9, information for council. Thanks, Rob. Mr. Tebow.
So we've got a few items up here. Administration's trying to take care of a lot of the standing items prior to everyone disappearing on us. So I'd ask maybe Mr. Chris Egan, he could come forward for the Cornfest stage electrical upgrade to begin with. Speak to that one.
Thank you very much. This standing item was moved by Councillor Sorensen and directed administration to investigate installing Cornfest stage electrical components permanently underground in the park. This, in discussions with Councillor Sorensen, you'll notice that in this information item last year, and we intend to bring it forward this year, a review of the Confed Park electrical capacity across the entire park, which would include the Cornfest stage and other facilities that we have in the park. So currently facilities management and our master electrician is running a load assessment just to make sure where we do have issues, constraints, and where we don't, so that we can then come up with a plan. We do have the prior wording from last year for this particular project in the current 2026 capital plan that will come forward to council. And so we think we're going to capture both Councillor Sorensen's intentions and ours in that scope of work. And that'll be coming forward for council review in the bigger package.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions? Councillor Sorensen?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank administration for the prompt response, and I look forward to hearing about the future project.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tebow, number 2.
Yep, so we have the wheelchair swing upgrade. Again, Mr. Egan will have you swing up to the front.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor and Council. So this is just an update. This isn't the entire package of information, but we did want to come back and report that Mr. Martin over in Recreation has been diligently working with the two major suppliers of playground equipment. And although they both use the same sub-trade to do the actual physical construction of the unit, they both independently come back and reduce their initial estimates to us by about $45,000. So about half of the original supply only part of that contract number that we brought forward to scope the project originally. And so we have one item left to do. We had a meeting arranged with Table Special Needs, but we had to postpone that, but we're looking to rearrange that again for next week or the week after. And with that meeting and the assessment of their needs and information from them, we'll be able to come back to council with a re-estimated package of work and a recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Deputy. I'm really happy to see that you're involving Tabor Special Needs in this so that they have their input on where these swings are needed and where they're practical and not practical. So I'm glad that we're going that extra step to make sure we're working towards their needs as well, not just a thought we've had. It's good to have their input. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bruin. Councillor Bruin, sorry. Mr. Tebow, we'll move on to number 3.
That sounds good. If there's no more questions on that one, I'd like to bring up Amy Allred, and she's going to speak to a report that we got, an economic impact assessment that we were planning on putting forward for our very busy week that we had with all of our staff. So over to Amy.
Good afternoon, Council. We wanted to share with you the Economic Impact Report for our June 30th to July 5th week of events, our most amazing week, as we called it. We kicked it off, of course, with the 120th concert in Confederation Park in partnership with Spider Entertainment, straight into Canada Day the next day, and then into summer games for the rest of the week. During this time, we saw approximately 5,850 spectators and participants, which an estimated about 1,755 were from out of town. So Sport Tourism Lethbridge often does these economic impact reports for events, and we asked them to do one for this week. And they have projected that the immediate and direct economic impact that week is about $1.428 million for our local economy. And they added about another $100,000 for longer term impacts, so things that will keep going on after that, bringing the total to $1.527 million. It can be really hard to quantify events and the impact they have on our local businesses, but the ripple effects can reach really far. For example, as I put in the package, more people are eating at a local restaurant, which in turn the restaurant has to order more food from a local supplier, hopefully, which then the delivery driver gets more work, he has more money, he goes back to the restaurant to take his family out to celebrate, and the cycle continues. So this report is just a simple, quantifiable number that shows the local impact of events and bringing in visitors to our economy. Are there any questions?
No, Amy, I think that looks awesome. We just need bigger events, right? Just
there you go.
Double the money.
Thank you.
Councillor Bruin.
As a local business owner, Deputy Mayor, did you see an impact in your business from these events?
I guess I don't have to push my own button, right? I was gonna there. Yes, the summer games I seen quite a bit, and the 120 where we had the band, right? It ended a good time. My establishment goes later into the night, so it was very impactful.
So we do actually see it, like
Yep.
you see it there.
Yep.
So it's great.
Okay, any other questions for him? Thank you very much. Mr. Tebow, we'll move on to number 4.
Staffing might not be so happy to hear that we'd like larger events.
No, I know. Just saying it.
Just speaking on behalf of administration.
Just not back to back to back.
Yeah. So we have the capital project status update. Again, administration was bringing this forward just to give council a glimpse at where we're sitting at with the capital project. So if there was any questions from council, administration could try to field those from the capital project list.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions on the capital budget projects list, the graphs?
I guess I have a question.
Councilor Sorensen.
There's a couple. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. There's a couple projects on hold, the grit lift rebuild and the raw water pump station. And I see that they're 100% grant funded, so it might have been already answered, but maybe administration can just let me know if this affects our grant application at all, why is it on hold, I guess.
Thank you.
I can get Mr. Egan to come forward and speak to that, Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Councillor Sorensen and Council. So the grit lift pump repair, that's in the wastewater treatment plant, and it's part of the process that obviously separates grit and other items at the early stages of the water treatment process. We'd originally budgeted, I'm just trying to find it on the report here, I believe it was $75,000. So we did initial investigations, and so that's come back at $300,000 is the budget. So that's why we haven't moved forward on any of it, and we also haven't brought it back to council at this point in time because we're reviewing different technologies to achieve the same outcome, and we haven't sort of landed on what we would prefer to recommend to council. So that's why that one's on hold, and that was approved last year. That's a council-funded, 100% funded project. The raw water lift or intake, that's a project that is aligned with the work that's going on with Chin. And so as the province and SMRID work on raising the level at Chin, they've got to take the bridge, the crossing, north-south crossing out, replace that. They're doing that work. That work's going to take a couple, 3 or 4 years. And what we've done with it will affect our intake structure will be actually underwater if the levels which were predicted actually come true. So we thought it was prudent to wait for probably another year or so until the final elements of the SMERD provincial project are done, and that will confirm the actual height of the water that's predicted to come, and then obviously the impact on our particular station. And then at that point in time, we would pick up the design and of the new location and make the move and do the construction before the water overcomes our particular station, and in alignment with our particular needs, which would typically be wintertime, or not wintertime when we're pumping, but summertime when we're taking water from the St. Mary's ditch system, which reduces our utility costs and wear and tear on on this particular station. So there's a little bit of a seasonal timing to that particular project. But it's we have no risk of being overtaken by what St. Mary's is doing because it's a fairly large project, and it obviously relies on water coming in to raise the water level in Chin itself. So we're just taking not a wait and see attitude, but wait and be better informed so that we can make better decisions inside our particular project.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor McLean?
Oh,
okay, go on.
Sorry, it's just part of this. So just, it says it's 100% grant funded. So if it's on hold, my question is it still going to be available for that grant funding if we place it on hold?
Yes, I don't think there's any question of losing the grant at this point in time.
No, thank you.
Yes, Councillor McLean?
I also had just a follow-up question as part of that. So the 75% that has been completed, would that be would that be affected as to these changes? Like, would we have to spend more money or try and get more grant funding to move it?
So
Do you
the
understand my question?
75% complete, we haven't done any design work yet, but we've done the schematic design and design development, so we kind of know what we're looking at as far as structure out in Chin and the new location and the new capacity building, et cetera, for the new structure. But we're waiting on better information. It shouldn't impact anything that we've already done. We stopped short of the major costs, which would be full working drawings, so that we're ready to tender. We don't need to do that at the moment. Depending again on what St. Mary's in the province does and the impact on us, we'll rejig that schematic design. And it will also, that new information will allow us to go back to the province in St. Mary's and potentially renegotiate their share of the cost of the project, which is, in my humble opinion, not driven by the town, 100% driven by their. So it's a great project for the surrounding area, Tabor and surrounding area and the farms, but not so much to the taxpayers of the town of Tabor, since we're not driving the project. So part of what will happen in the future is the finalization of the negotiation of the actual cost sharing.
That makes sense. Councilor Bruin.
Thank you, Deputy. You kind of answered my questions there. Then we're hoping to get some grant money to build this lift structure or whatever. There may be some incentives for us to build it, or.
So my goal would be 100%
yeah.
from other.
Because we
sources.
have one there now. They're changing it. We have to build a new one.
Exactly.
My other thought is things are only going to cost more in 3 years than they do now. We must have a level of what they think the reservoir will be raised to.
Yes, we do. So
why can't we start building it? Or why are we waiting till we have to build it, I guess?
Typically, in a project, we would wait until we had solid information. So right now, the predicted level increase is, I think, 2 meters. But that is just that, a predicted target increase. Their designs on raising structures and are based on some information that they're still gathering, still working on. So until they confirm what they can do as far as water levels, we think it's prudent to go on hold and just wait for that to happen. We're not also in a rush. We don't need to make that decision right now. So we would like to hold off until the very last second, and then for sure we won't be affected as far as our delivery to the.
Figure on 3 meters and we'll be safe.
Yeah, it's quite likely we'll go right to the top of the hill. The majority right now, the structure, the building would be just barely underwater. We typically go to the top of the hill and change the way we approach that. The other thing that's going on is if you'll recall that the province funded 2 regional studies, one for water and one for wastewater. The bookends of Medicine Hat and Lethbridge, they're drawing from the river. We are still drawing from Chin, and that location is the location of a fairly major, actually the entire wastewater plant or water treatment plant and lift station would be combined in that location, is the proposed idea behind, and that's several $100 million plant.
That's a good point, because I thought it could change with this study when it comes out then, yes. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Tebow?
I think it was pretty much answered adequately. I just wanted to let council know there have been some sunken costs, but they're not entirely useless sunken costs. They would be transferable to a location or an upgraded structure of some sort. So yes, money spent, but I don't think money misspent at this point.
Yeah, we just need a future council, future administration to be aggressive in the negotiations if it takes 3 more years. That's right. And so that's what I think we'll do, or they will do. All right, thank you. If everybody's done there, we'll move on to number 5, Mr. Tebow.
Again, just bringing forward, this is the strategic dashboard that council has seen over the course of the years. Under the now section, we typically have, somewhere around 3 to 5 items. And I just wanted to provide an update. Obviously, we've moved forward with that multi-use facility. I can say that we have got the grant application finally put in, but it is a 5 to 6 month waiting period before we hear back on that. So again, we could apply that if we were to get it, but council has fully funded that. The long-term financial plan / reserve fund policy, we do have a draft version, and tonight Rob Osmond just updated everyone on what that might look like. And we do have the boundary review and land inventory assessment. Probably the land inventory assessment, I believe, is already started by Hillary. We were waiting for a planning director to get here so that we can undertake those, and that's on Hillary's radar. So I just wanted to provide that update to the strategic dashboard, and this will be something that we definitely revisit for the next council, the next strategic initiatives, and the same sort of document will carry us forward for 4 more years.
Right. Any questions? Okay. That's not a question. So I guess we'll move on to 7.10, department reports. Right? Yeah. Starting with, I'm going to name them off. Okay, if everybody's ready. If you have any questions, just stop me, please. The CAO department report. The Engineering and Public Works Department report. The Water and Wastewater Treatment Facilities Department report. The Facilities Management Department report. The Economic Development Department report. The Human Resources Department. Oh, does somebody have something? Joanne, go ahead.
Yeah, just for economic development, I see that there's a campaign approved, and it started August 1st for the, sorry, I have something over it, but the NRED and Can Export Grant. I was just wondering if sometime that could be shared with council.
Okay, there is an update, Councillor Sorensen. So.
We can share an update, not right now, but
okay, all right, okay.
It is a year-long initiative, Councillor Sorensen, and council will be updated. I'm not too sure what the schedule is for that right now, but there will be something coming forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I guess we'll move on to a Human Resources Department report. Recreation Department report. See, there's a couple highlighted. I see irrigation was installed at the off-leash dog park. That'll be happy. Right, and another successful Versett camp. They did 2 weeks this year. Ooh. All right, anybody for a fire department report? Nope. And then administration service department report. And then planning department report. Corporate services department report. And that's all of them. So, thank you. We will move on to item 7.1, Mayor and Council reports. Joanne, do you want to start one? Councilor Sorensen, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I attended most meetings that was required, and I don't really have any updates.
Thank you very much. Councilor Bruin?
Thank you, Deputy Dan. I attended all the meetings I was required to attend, Recreation Board meeting, Highway 3 executive meeting, and there's another one in there, I'm forgetting which one. But MPC, thank you, Dan. Everything went well there. Excited to see all the work that's been going forward with Highway 3. It's all the way to Burdett now with some dirt work. They're expecting to have that paved the end of 2026, and we're hoping to see them start from Medicine Hat 7 persons after that. So that's going to make a huge difference with our traveling back and forth. Great rec board meeting. I got to say personally, I think the baseball diamonds and all that look really good this year, especially at Confederation Park, quite well maintained. I don't know what's happened at Ken McDonald. They look really good this year. Something's changed there. I'm not sure what, but sure looks good. That's about it.
Thank you very much. I guess we'll go to Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I it's going back all the way to the end of August. So participated in the Cornfest parade and helped to judge floats as part of the Tabor Chamber of Commerce. Sold 50/50 tickets and flipped pancakes and volunteered. It was a great event. It always is every year. I also participated in a promotional video with South Grow promoting Tabor. Attended a regional police commission meeting with Medicine Hat Police Commission, the Blood Tribe Police Commission, and Lethbridge Police Commission members, as well as our local Tabor Police Commission members. It was a good meeting. We hope to hold another one again in the future. I attended the Terry Fox Run and the Thursday evening coffee with council.
Well, thank you very much. On to Councillor Beckring's last report.
No,
Anything you really wanna?
one more report after this.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I was not able to attend any meetings beside council meetings because I was in hospital and I'm still recovering. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor McLean.
And looking really good, I might add.
Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I also attended every meeting that I was required to, and also the Thursday night coffee with council. That was my report.
Thank you. And I guess on to me. I attended all my required meetings. I attended the Cornfest Parade. I drove around the Council General. I went to the Tabor Shooting Foundation opening of the Shooters Hall, and they got some CFAP grant money that was given to them by Grant Hunter. The mayor was there and the Reeve. It was lots of fun. We got the Pheasant Festival coming up, October 18th to the 25th. It's always fun. And I believe the Policeman's Ball is on October 25th. And it's masquerade, so you guys can all show up and nobody will know who you are, right? So, right? It'll be a lot of fun. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, do you got anything from you, Mr. Tebow, you want to throw in?
I will be throwing nothing in.
So we'll move on to, is there any delegations?
There are none.
Thank you. Any media requirements?
There are none. We do still have to look after item 7.12, the standing items list, Deputy Mayor Remford.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I made my first mistake of the meeting. I did miss item 7.12, standing items. So
As much as I would have liked to have let that go.
I know. Oh, yeah.
I'll bring it forward. So the first one being the IMDC agenda, we did have that meeting last week, and Councillor Bruin did attend along with Councillor Remford, Deputy Mayor Remford. We did talk about a water line, and there was a motion made to throw it back at this administration to look into what we might be able to do for a water line out to the motocross track and the shooting range. Just irrigated type water, not potable water. So administration will take that away. So while this says in progress, we actually did complete that. I think it was just last week. Mayor Prokop with the 60-meter path, we brought forward that information tonight and recognize it'll be in the 2026 budget deliberations, or that we received it for information. And Mayor Prokop's the sign selection, that one's still in progress. We haven't moved forward much on that one yet. Councillor Sorensen, we looked after the Cornfest stage, again being brought forward in a 2026 budget initiative, capital budget initiative. Traffic Committee, Councillor Bruin, we did actually meet with the Traffic Committee. We are going to go back and talk to Ace Place. There was some information that we wanted to go back and forth with them on before we made a final recommendation on the lights, the blinking lights for 47th Avenue. So there might be some other options, but that will continue to be in progress until we find out those answers and come back.
Councillor Bruin, do you have something to add?
Just with the lights I requested at Ace Place, so that's not dead in the water yet. There's still...
It's not, no. There was a couple of options discussed. We just want to go straight to lights until after we explored some other adjustments with Ace Place as far as where they could drop people off. And we went through this with, I think, the Tabor Christian School as well on the Traffic Committee, the same sort of approach, and landed on something that was alternative to redoing crosswalks or lights. So we'll see if Ace Place is amicable to that, and if not, then we'll have to take that into consideration.
Okay, I really like the lights. Still my favorite.
We know.
The speed zone there doesn't work unless it's patrolled or someone's sitting there. doesn't affect the speed much. It's such a short speed zone, a lot of people don't even realize it's there. But lights are the answer to the traffic committee.
Thank you, Mr. Bruin.
And the very last item we are still in progress on for the downtown parking request. So back over to council if you had any additional items.
Yeah, I guess I'll open it. Does anybody have any? Councillor Sorensen?
No, nothing for me.
Oh, that's good. Well, Deputy Mayor Dan Remford does. Okay, so I know it's kind of, we've talked about it quite a bit. The gravel road in Westview, 43rd Street. It is not, it was paved, it was opened, council opened it, but it was never paved. So I'm making a motion that council directs administration to work with the developer to research the costs and timeline associated with the infrastructure requirements for completing the gravel road portion of 43rd Street between 44th Avenue and 56th Avenue and provide the findings to council at a future meeting. Yeah, I did. I will. We got to discuss it, so. I guess discussion?
I'd like to discuss.
Okay, Councillor Bruin?
Thank you, Councillor, or Deputy Mayor. I think it's, actually, it's a much needed road. I can see the ill effects with the dust, and thank you for bringing forward the motion down for that. There's a lot to paving that street, as people may not be aware of the infrastructure that has to go underneath it, and the connection to each house on each side as well has to be built. So there's a lot to it, but I don't know if I needed to add a friendly amendment, but maybe we could ask administration to work with developer within the construction season to see that it's completed.
Like work into the next construction season?
Yeah,
So there's a kind of a more of a fixed timeline?
more of a fixed date.
Yeah, I guess.
So we can get an answer, so we can go, do it. We gotta fix our problem over there, so it's comfortable for the people living there.
So I guess with your friendly amendment and provide the findings to council at a future meeting, I guess. Where do we want to add that?
I just ask
Okay.
administration to work with the developer.
Yeah, ask the administration to work with the developer within the construction season.
That would be
I
my
guess
friendly
instead of a
amendment.
timeline? Instead of where it says timeline, Brittany?
I'd like to make that friendly amendment.
Okay, I can accept that friendly amendment. The real reason, I know it would add, there's costs that aren't ours. It would be some of the developer. I know bringing him in. I mean, the developer, the road is being used so much of late. Like, I'm starting to see more people walk on it. There's no lights on it. There's no sidewalk on it. I just think if we're gonna do something, we should finish it. But I do understand it comes with some costs that aren't ours. So, I guess did anybody want Brittany to read the motion back before we vote? Okay, so I guess I'll add it. Council directs administration to work with the developer to research the costs within the timeline of the next construction season associated with the infrastructure requirements for completing the gravel road portion of 43rd Street between 54th Avenue and 56th Avenue and provide the findings to council at a future meeting. Councilor Firth?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And thank you for that motion. I agree, it is a heavily used street, and I can understand some of the drawbacks and some of the concerns from the residents around that neighborhood. But your intention with the motion is to find out the costs, right? I just want to understand your motion, okay, before we vote. It's not to move forward until we understand the scope and the cost.
Yes, my hope would be find the costs and also find out what if the developer is, maybe he wants to put up some of the costs right away. Maybe he sees the benefit of the road. So working with him, I imagine it's going to happen at one time, right? But we have made steps to where it looks like we were going to do something and we kind of stopped. So if we're going to, I got to imagine the developer, will see it as a benefit and hopefully he will throw his portion in.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yep. Any other discussion? I guess all in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. All right, now I can move on to delegations? Okay. So, any delegations, Mr. Tebow?
There's no delegations in open session.
Yeah, okay, and media inquiries?
There are still no media inquiries.
Perfect. So I guess, all we need is a motion to move into closed session. Okay, all in favor?
In
Right.
favor.
Carried unanimously.